isn't live.
Okay, everybody on Zoom, can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, first of all, thank you everyone from the Lakota group. This is Kylie, by the way. I'm sitting right here, right now. So we will probably have some more commissioners filter in as we go, but we have Maggie and Dee here. They are HDC commissioners ready to hear from you guys about the new design guidelines. So whenever you're ready, we can go ahead and get started.
Great, thanks. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great, good. Well, thank you for having us today. My name is Nick Calageresis. I'm with the Lakota Group, and it's been our pleasure to work with all of you in developing this new set of design guidelines for you. We were last there last September to do a lot of photography and meet with you to talk about these design guidelines. Now, after months of work, we have almost close to 100% draft. And so it's our pleasure to walk you through it today and respond to comments. I want to turn it over to Sarah and Peggy to walk you through the presentation. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nick.
Ron,
So,
can we make their presentation screen larger on the Zoom side of things? Sorry, Suraj.
no worries.
Pretty big on our end.
Not ours, I can't read it.
Okay, that's okay. You go right ahead, Suraj, and we will figure it out on our end.
Sounds good. Hello, everyone, and thank you, Nick, for the great introduction. So what will we cover today? So today we want to take some time to kind of walk you through how the report is structured, share some of the objectives that this set of design guidelines aims to achieve, and also what we want to do is zoom in on certain portions of the report that were considered key focus areas kind of early on in the process. So for example, the community shared a lot of thoughts and feedback about historic materials and also potential alternatives. So this is one area we would like to talk a little more about tonight. And also during our visit, we had discussed that Windows, for example, is one of the features that is always a topic of discussion. So we would like to also talk a little bit about, say, Windows and just walk you through our approach overall, of course, at a high level. We also want to share what each chapter of the guidelines focuses on, so we can make sure we cover all different aspects in your experience. So if we go on to the next slide, here, and as you all know at this point, the chapter is divided into, the report is divided into 7 main chapters in addition to an introduction and an analysis. So in the first chapter, we really highlight the variety of historic resources you experience, and we do give a foundation of knowledge as to what is existing today. In the second chapter, this is where we outline the principles for design guidelines, and that includes the standard for secondary interior. The third chapter is a chapter that focuses on maintenance and care for historic building materials, which, as I mentioned earlier, is very crucial to the community, so we'll talk about that. The fourth chapter focuses on preservation of architectural features and also materials and elements for historic residential properties. And chapter 5 is similar to chapter 4, but it is the chapter that talks about historic commercial properties. Chapter 6 is where we talk about infill and new construction, and that also includes additions for both residential and commercial properties. The 7th chapter here talks about public realm, and that includes sidewalks, stairway and public art. So what we'll do today is we'll go through the different chapters just very briefly to kind of go a little bit deeper on these topics. But before that, and as we go on to the next slide, here are the historic district design guideline objectives, and that's what we have in our introduction. So really, the main objective behind the design guidelines is to encourage the property owners to maintain and restore their properties. Of course, we want them to do this in an appropriate and a very sensitive manner, but also this set of design guidelines offers advice on maintenance. How do you inspect certain features or materials? How do you maintain them? What are some of the tools to use, or maybe who do you consult with, or when do you consult with the contractor? And the overall approach to repair. And most importantly, this set of design guidelines, and as we had discussed the last time we were out in Eureka Springs, this aims to sort of help with consistency in decision-making process. So specifically for COAs, just trying to make it clear for property owners as to what they need to expect and what's expected of them. So that's just a quick summary of what the objectives for the design guidelines to achieve. And then speaking of COAs, we did outline in the design guidelines what the COA application review looks like and what the different levels are, which are the three levels. But this simple chart here shows the four different types of COA reviews, the first being no COA. And what we tried to aim to do with this is just a simple visual guide for property owners to know if a COA will be needed, and if so, what type of approval will they need to go through if they need to go through a COA process. For example, the Commission recently chose to have paint not be regulated and not something that would require administrative approval. And so we made sure to update as we go our design guidelines, and that is reflected now in the most recent draft of the design guidelines. So as we go on to the first chapter, this section, as I mentioned earlier, kind of sheds light on what's existing in Eureka Springs and talks about the built environment, how it has evolved over time. And that's starting with the first settlement and the discovery of the healing springs, and all the way up to today, where Eureka Springs is really known for all its tourism, just being a tourism town. So we kind of provided a brief history of Eureka Springs, but aside from that, we also provided an overview of the historic districts and the historic resources in Eureka Springs. We did share a brief description of every historic district, kind of summarizing the contributing resources and also the period of significance for each of the historic districts. And this was really fun for us, and we thought it's very important to share with the community overall, because there's a lot of districts and resources that are hidden gems in a way. Like, you need to put in some effort to get to find them, and that includes like sanitarium bridges, or just really understanding what is involved in Lake Leatherwood district. So it's really important to shed light on these resources and make sure that they're there for the community to kind of take a look at. In the second chapter of the design guidelines, this is where we were sort of setting the stage for the design guidelines that will follow. And here is where we were sharing the principles and also the standards for the Secretary of Interior standards for treatment of historic preservation, for historic properties. So we do share Secretary of Interior standards for restoration, for rehabilitation, and also preservation. We do kind of reference those in the design guidelines, but on top of that, we also share 6 principles that we think that property owners and COA applicants should really focus on. So those principles, first and foremost, we want to make sure that we are identifying and we are maintaining original or historic building materials and architectural features. That's the first principle. But on top of that, we also want to make sure we are repairing those materials and these architectural features. We also share that maybe we need to replace original or historic building materials only when necessary and also when appropriate. We also want to make sure that we are able to distinguish between what is historic and what is new construction or additions on top of existing properties. And then in our fifth principle here, we want to make sure that we are also shedding light on some of the features that go beyond the building footprint. There's streetscapes, there's landscapes. And so we want to make sure that those are also part of the discussion. And then the sixth principle here, we talk about seeking professional consultation when appropriate. And we do mention the sixth principle throughout the document. We do kind of shed light on where we need property owners to maybe consult with someone as needed, of course. So that is what we share in the second chapter. I'll turn it over here to Peggy to walk us through chapter 3.
Okay, thanks, Suraj. So hi, everybody. For the next few slides, I will highlight for you some of the material you will find in chapters 3, 4, and 5, and then Suraj will take over again to finish up. So when we talk about the care of historic building materials, it is worth noting that high quality materials are part of the reason buildings last hundreds of years. These materials do not deteriorate quickly, and when they show signs of wear, are easily repairable. These materials are an integral part of the significance of the district and define the identity and visual character that makes Eureka Springs unique. For this reason, maintaining high quality materials is critical to maintaining the integrity of the district overall. New material may be cheap in the short term, but does not have longevity, and over time, the use of new materials erodes the integrity and significance of the district, and is why the use of high quality material should be prioritized. In chapter 3 is where you find information about substitute materials and how to care for the variety of historic materials in the district, including wood, metal, masonry, glass, stucco, and paint. To use metal as an example, there are a variety of different metal types in the district, and while we often think of metal as a very strong material, some types can be damaged by abrasive cleaning methods. So knowing which metals can withstand abrasive cleaning and which cannot helps us to preserve these materials. Also, corrosion leads to material damage, including to the metal itself, along with the surrounding stone or concrete. For this reason, it's important to not put cast iron adjacent to lead or copper, as those metals will erode iron. So again, this is just an example of the type of information about material that is located in chapter 3. The preservation or replacement of windows is a hot topic for commission members as well as building owners. Because the questions around what to do with historic windows are so common, we have included information about them here in chapter 3, and also guidelines for their repair are included in the residential and commercial chapters. We have included in chapter 3 a sample worksheet that can be used to help evaluate whether a historic window is too deteriorated to repair. This worksheet provides a place to gather data about the type of window, glazing, paint, weather stripping, the frame, sills and jambs, the top rail, meeting rail, bottom rail, stiles and muntins, and in turn provides an opportunity for a targeted treatment for repairing the window, such as in this example. The repair recommendation includes replace the bottom rail in kind, repair the meeting rail and sill with wood epoxy, add weather stripping, and repaint. Providing this type of specific direction is helpful to the building owner who may not know what to do if he or she is told simply to repair the window. Or if a building owner claims a window is not repairable, the recommendations can demonstrate that, in fact, it is repairable. So chapter 3 also contains information about wood windows and their material longevity compared to vinyl replacement windows and associated costs. Building owners are rightfully concerned about maintenance costs, and we are all targeted by window manufacturers to convince us that replacing historic windows will save money. The comparative study included in Chapter 3 provides information on the financial disadvantages of replacing historic wood windows. Numerous studies are widely available, especially online, to demonstrate the energy efficiency of well-maintained wood windows and demystify the common but false belief that vinyl windows are more energy efficient than historic wood windows. But this is not an energy efficiency study. This study looks at costs of materials and repairs for both wood and vinyl windows and the significant cost savings with the retention and repair of historic wood windows. By directly comparing the costs of repairs to wood windows versus vinyl windows, the study authors demonstrated that the maintenance and replacement totals after 100 years for a wood window were just over $1,000, while the comparable maintenance and replacement totals after 100 years for a vinyl window was over $5,000 per window. All of the data points and sources for this study are included in the design guidelines document. The last example of material and life cycle comparisons in Chapter 3 provides information that looks beyond the concept of historically appropriate and instead evaluates factors such as durability, paint requirements, and susceptibility to moisture and pest damage. When directly comparing materials such as vinyl, wood, and hardyboard, a second comparison in the guidelines looks at historic stucco and ephes, with data coming from manufacturers' websites. These pages help illustrate that maintenance-free is a myth, and there are few cost savings when using non-historic materials. Chapter 4 is presented in two parts. The first part describing residential styles and vernacular forms, and the second part provides guidelines for preservation and maintenance. Chapter 4 summarizes architectural styles in the district, providing an overview of how each is defined and their identifying features. For example, here, the Second Empire style is easily identifiable by its mansard roof, a dual pitch hip form with a steep lower slope and a shallow upper slope, but then the style has other elaborations, including cresting, brackets, belt courses, and arched openings. Other residential styles in the district include the Italianate, Carpenter Gothic, Second Empire, Queen Anne, Colonial Revival, Dutch Colonial Revival, Tudor Revival, Rustic, Craftsman, Usonian, Minimal Traditional, and Neo-Revival styles. As an example of a vernacular form, the bungalow is typically rectangular, 1 or 1.5 stories, with a wide projecting roof and a broad front porch, emphasizing horizontal lines. Roof dormers and ribbons of windows, which are 4 or more windows in a single opening, reinforce that horizontal emphasis. Residential vernacular forms in the district include gable front, side gable, the I house, 1-story hipped cube, folk Victorian, bungalow, Ozark giraffe, American Foursquare, ranch, and A-frame. The second part of Chapter 4 is the preservation and maintenance guidelines, separated by feature with detailed guidance for each. This content is organized so that if one wants to know best practices for repairing a porch, for example, they simply go to the section on porches. The categories include roofs, exterior siding and cladding, doors and openings, windows and openings, porches, foundations, site features such as walls and fences, garages and accessory buildings, and weatherization. Because historic windows are an essential design feature, I thought I'd walk you through some of the content we included for windows. Window design and materials, size, muntin patterns, casing, and window hoods provide important clues about architectural style, building type, and age. For example, the tall, narrow 2/2 windows with an arched sash and arched window hood quickly signal the Italianate style, while a large picture window surrounded by smaller ornamental lights is a typical Queen Anne style feature. The guidelines for windows are separated by topic, including window preservation, maintenance and repair, protection of historic sash with storm windows, shutters, replacement when an original window is too deteriorated to repair, energy efficiency, and replacement of non-historic windows. This information, in combination with the window content in Chapter 3, provides comprehensive guidance for the care of historic windows. In Chapter 5, just like Chapter 4, presented in two parts, the first part describing styles and vernacular forms, and the second part providing guidelines for preservation and maintenance. Chapter 5 summarizes commercial architectural styles, providing an overview of how each is defined and their identifying features. For example, the Italianate style has an ornate projecting cornice with brackets and modillions and has those characteristic tall, narrow windows with elaborate window hoods, which sometimes are of stone or otherwise are of pressed metal. Commercial styles in the district are commercial vernacular, 19th century commercial, Italianate, Romanesque revival, colonial revival, and classical revival. Vernacular types include neo-eclectic, the tourist court, and the motel, the last two examples relating to the emergence and popularity of car travel. The preservation and maintenance guidelines are the second part of the commercial chapter, also separated by feature, with detailed guidance for each. Areas of guidance include the storefront, the upper story, the roof, back porches, signage, and energy efficiency. The storefront is at the first floor of the building and is composed of large windows for the display of merchandise to draw shoppers into the store, as well as the door and entry vestibule into these retail spaces. The storefront conveys design and architectural distinction and expresses the history of retail and commerce in the traditional downtown area. Guidance for this feature begins with a description of the elements of a storefront, then provides information about retention of those elements, guidance for avoiding the addition of residential features to a commercial building, guidance for retention and maintenance of wood storefront features, cast iron features, transom windows and prism glass, and the door and entry sequence. During our, and also in Chapter 5, so we have this information, during our on-site survey, we observed that Eureka Springs has a number of Mesker facades and storefronts, most easily identifiable by the cast iron column nameplate. The Mesker brothers, Frank, Bernard, and George, founded two companies that produced architectural cast iron storefronts between 1870 and 1930. Frank and Bernard operated the Mesker Brothers Ironworks out of St. Louis, Missouri, and George founded George L. Mesker and Company in Evansville, Indiana. The Mesker storefronts were offered in a wide variety of motifs and decorative components, sometimes having a full cast iron facade, others with select features, such as a cornice with stamped metal ornament, or an upper story, window hoods, cast iron columns, and even interior pressed steel ceilings and structural cast iron columns. Exterior designs could include stamped metal pilasters, scrolls, brackets, dentils, finials, and floral or swag motifs. Components were ordered from a catalog, allowing a building owner to mix and match which elements and design features he or she wanted, resulting in unlimited variety. These storefronts were extremely popular and represent this historic period of storefront design. Mesker storefronts have been identified in 49 states and Washington, D.C. In Arkansas, Eureka Springs has the largest concentration of Mesker storefronts of any city in the state. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Suraj.
Thank you, Peggy. So we are moving on to Chapter 6. And Chapter 6, as I mentioned earlier, is really about guidelines for infill construction and also for additions. So here we're just really talking about the different ways we would remediate building gaps, for example. Hopefully they don't, but you know, you might have some catastrophic fire, maybe a building is removed because, you know, safety reasons. So you might end up with some gaps in between your buildings, but it is really important for us to just make sure that we maintain a strong building fabric and try to make sure that those gaps don't happen often and there aren't that many of them. So for example, if we have some gaps in our downtown district, that might lead to this district not being so vital. So we want to make sure we're maintaining a strong fabric. In this chapter, we really set the guidelines for infill development and for additions, and we take into consideration just the overall site layout and orientation of new construction, the architectural expression of what we're building. And we also want to make sure that the scale, the mass, the form, for example, are all comparable to the neighboring properties. So here in the design guidelines, we talk about all of these different aspects that need to be taken into consideration when we're talking about new construction. But also we do talk about the need to distinguish new construction from what is original and what is historic. So if we go on to the next slide, here we're trying to show some of the illustrations that we worked on to also talk about infill development and additions. So for example, for residential additions here, here sometimes what we're trying to show here is a side addition. So side additions might occur in Eureka Springs. Overall, the Eureka Springs is really built out, and so there aren't that many opportunities where site additions might happen. But if they do, we wanted to make sure that we provide guidelines for that. So in this scenario, we're showing site addition to residential property that is still minimal in scale, does not really overwhelm the existing residential property, and it's just appropriate with the surrounding properties as well. So if we go on to the next slide, here we're showing, you know, if the side addition maybe is not an option and there is a strong steep slope going to the back, that is maybe where we could have our addition occur. And for the most part, this is where additions are occurring in residential properties in Eureka Springs, because they kind of make use of that kind of the side of the cliff, essentially. So the steeper the slope, really, the bigger the addition can be. But in all cases, what we're trying to show is the need to be appropriate and also not overwhelming to the existing structure or neighboring structures. So that's it with residential additions, and then here with commercial, we're showing guidelines for infill that are also similar to residential in the sense that we also need to be very sensitive to what's around us. And in this scenario, we're showing an infill development on a vacant lot. And what we are doing here is trying to show how maybe using minimal architecture, or maybe not focusing too much on, you know, imitating existing architectural features that are found in downtown Eureka Springs, just ways where it is distinguishable and fits well with scale and mass. So that's the first example. And then in certain scenarios where, for example, a side addition is not an option, or even a rear addition is not an option, second story addition could be an option, and it's the way to go maybe. But in our design guidelines, what we call for is a setback. When we go to second or third stories, we're asking for setbacks and for this addition to be stepped away from the primary facade. So it's not really very visible from the street, and does not really take away from that historic original architectural fabric. So that's what we are sharing here for commercial. Jumping to chapter 7, this chapter really focuses on streetscape and public realm. And here we're talking sidewalks, we're talking stairways, retaining walls, and we also do talk about public art. These are some of the elements that also define the character in Eureka Springs, and we want to make sure that we emphasize them. So for sidewalks, for example, we do do talk about different ways to maintain and repair sidewalks, and more specifically, limestone and concrete, because we know that those are very crucial to the community, unique features in your district. For public art, for example, we talk about the size of the public art, or maybe its placement. How do you install it, or what to take into consideration when installing public art so it does not damage your historic building, it does not damage your streetscape. We also talk about wall murals. Wall murals are always fun for communities, but when you have very high architectural integrity, you want to make sure you're not really damaging your building. So we talk about ways where you can introduce wall murals on temporary panels that can be easily removable, and this change can be easily undone. So that is one way we approached wall murals. But we also talked about historic wall signs, which we also refer to as ghost signs. Those often really build the character of the community, and they sometimes also tell stories. So we want to make sure that those are maintained, and if need be, also restored in the community. So we do provide some guidelines as relates to those signs. So that's really chapter 7. And then following chapter 7 here in the final section, we did include additional information. We did include the Secretary of Interior standards. We did include the Arkansas Historic Preservation Easement Program, historic preservation incentives, and just some other resources that could be really helpful for the city, but also very helpful for property owners and the community overall if they needed to kind of dig deeper into design guidelines. And that's pretty much it. That sums up our presentation for tonight. And there's a lot more in the report, as you all know, but we also want to make sure we leave some time to kind of hear your thoughts and feedback and see if you all have any questions.
It's a lot of information.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Some of it seems superfluous to Eureka Springs, though.
I think that this is a really great educational tool, not just for the HDC, but for residents. We are going to get about 100 of these printed in hard copy and made available to folks, especially because you have so much great information about preventative measures that people can take to maintain materials that they already have so they don't progress and decay to such an extent that they have to replace them. And I think all of the educational information is going to be a really great resource for everybody that's a homeowner here. So thank you for including that.
That's what I liked about chapter 3, and especially the windows where you give all that information. I think that was wonderful.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that. Windows definitely are a hot topic, so we have to make sure that they are well tackled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been preaching that for years. If I can do it, anybody can.
Yep. Any other questions for the gentleman?
No, it's 6:03.
I think that the copies would be great, hard copies, so people can sit down and really take their time and read them
Yes.
and make them available to anybody who wants to come by and get a copy.
Yeah. And we'll be doing another postcard mail out since everything's finalized, that will have a link and a QR code sending people to our website where they can see the full digital version.
Great.
So
Great.
thank you all from the
Thank
Lakota
you.
group so much. It's been a pleasure truly to work with you. You made this a really easy project on my end. So I sincerely appreciate all the hard work that you guys put into this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's very, very nice to hear from all of you. It's really been better for all of us as well. Kylie definitely will follow up after this call so we can just kind of talk about final steps.
Okie doke, sounds good. Well, I guess that will conclude the workshop, and we are going to go ahead and move into our regular meeting. So thank you all for Zooming in from Chicago.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Do you want to give Kyle his stuff? Is that,
I
don't know.
think our stream is still going, so we can just transition whenever you're
Okay,
ready.
it's still recording.
where, is that folder?
No,
Where's,
the folders are right here,
oh,
but I have to do that.
oh.
Good evening. Welcome to the July 6, 2022 meeting of the Eureka Springs Historic District Commission. I'm Steve Holifield, Chair. Kyle, will you please call roll?
Peter Graham,
Here.
Marty Kogan,
Here.
Steve Hallfield,
Here.
Dee Bright,
Here.
Kyle Palmer's present, Judy Holden,
Here.
and sorry, I don't remember your last name, Maggie.
Maggie Haid.
Maggie, thank you.
Present.
All members are present and no vacancies at this time. We have a quorum for business. The Eureka Springs Historic District Commission is empowered by the Eureka Springs Municipal Code to issue a certificate of appropriateness for alterations of exterior architectural features, demolition, new construction with historic districts. We use the Eureka Springs Historic District Design Guidelines and U.S. Secretary of the Interior Standards for the treatment of historic properties as the basis for our decisions. The Commission can take the following actions on an application: approval with modifications, denial, or deferral for more information. Appeal of denial may be made to the Circuit Court. Public comments on agenda items will be heard as each item is called. Other comments will be heard during the public comment period at the end of the meeting. Are there any changes for tonight's agenda?
Yes, I'd like to have a discussion on the July 20th meeting.
July 20th meeting?
Yeah, that would be our next meeting. So to add that to our commissioner business.
Okay.
Somebody needs to second it.
Anybody second that?
I'll second.
Dee made the motion and Kyle seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries. And any opposed? Good. Anything else?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented with the,
Just a second. The two consent agenda items, I don't know, has anybody else read those? Add shutters to first windows, change windows to doors. It's quite a bit of construction going there. Are we all okay with that being on the consent agenda? Both of those?
do you feel they need to be moved?
Well, it's a lot of information there. What do y'all think?
We can move them if you want for further discussion.
They are both non-contributing properties.
Right. That brings the question to me, if they're non-contributing, does that mean they can kind of do anything they want?
Sort of seems that way.
Yeah. That's some major changes to
Well,
the look of these buildings.
I'll make a motion to pull both consent agendas to put on the regular agenda for more discussion.
Second.
Dee made the motion, and Judy seconded. All in favor of moving number 1 and 2 in the consent agenda to the new business? All say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries. We'll add those as new business number 4 and 5. Okay?
Okay. Now you want me to approve it?
Now, yep.
Okay.
Is there anything else anybody wants to change? Okay, good.
Then I make a motion to approve the agenda with all the changes and additions as presented tonight.
I'll second.
Dee made the motion, Kyle seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. All right. Old business, there's none. New business, number 1, level 2, Crescent Spring Wall, rebuild retaining wall, add 2 built-in benches, Eureka Springs Parks Commission. Number 2, level 3, 5 Rogers Alley, install elevator on east side of the house. Number 3, level 3, 37 Council, construct detached garage. And now, number 4, level 1, 43 Prospect, add shutters to front windows, non-contributing. Number 5, level 1, 56 Hillside, change windows to doors, add Juliet balconies, add rear pergola, add gabled entry porch, non-contributing. So we will start with the first one, which is Crescent Spring Wall. Anybody here for that? All right, want to step up the mic and introduce yourself and tell us where you live, sir.
Scott, you need to turn that mic on.
You need to press that little silver
Can
button.
you press the button to turn the mic on? Thank you.
Is that better? Okay.
Thank you.
Scott Miskell, I am the Executive Director for Eureka Springs Parks and Recreation Commission, 532 Spring Street, Eureka Springs. Thank you for hearing my request this evening.
Okay, right now we're going to go ahead and read a summary.
Yes.
And then make sure that we're talking about the same thing, and then we'll move from there, okay?
Crescent Spring, or Spring Number 11, is located under a gazebo northeast of the Carnegie Library. Street maps dated to 1886 show a stone retaining wall and a circular enclosure of stone at the spring. Adjacent to it, 12 stair steps of beaver limestone lead to a public thoroughfare 10 feet in width, extending to Park Avenue on the hillside above. An artist sketch, which was published in 1881, shows a simple wood shed built to shade and protect the water. The shed was replaced by an ornate wooden gazebo with copper roofing that was constructed in 1886. Wood benches, a boardwalk, and gas street lamps were in place in 1886, and some of those features have been restored. The applicant is seeking a certificate of appropriateness for one of 2 reconstruction options. The first option is to construct 2 built-in limestone benches and retaining wall, using as much existing stone as possible. Steel reinforcement and a drainage system will prevent further water erosion. According to the park's engineer, these benches would also disperse the weight and help support the wall. In the alternative, they request to reconstruct the existing wall as is, where is, using as much of the existing stone as possible. In evaluating this request for alteration, staff makes the following findings of fact. The wall is structurally unsound and in need of reinforcement and restacking.
I move that the Historic District Commission issue a certificate of appropriateness for the work at Crescent Spring as proposed.
Second.
Dee made the motion, Judy seconded. Any questions, comments? Is that what you have anything to add to that, sir?
Just that, as I had mentioned in our request, there is a possibility that we just restore the wall exactly the way it is right now. I've tried to get bids to do the seats because the engineer said it would be helpful, and of course they would also be functional. But the repair that he designed, just putting a footer in and rebuilding the wall exactly the way it currently is, would be adequate. He has certified that as being an acceptable repair, and that would look essentially just the way it looks now, although there might be some new stones that we would have to include. We hope to reuse all of the stones that we can, but a few of them are crumbling, so we would try to put the new stones down at the base along the sidewalk and reuse the old stone, and it would look essentially the same as now.
Who's your contractor on this?
We don't have one yet. I had requested of 3 of our local contractors to get a bid, and the cutoff date was a week and a half ago, I think, and we got no bids. We are putting it out, we're publishing it now to try to get some bids.
Okay.
So at this point,
Everybody's so busy.
yes, one person said they could get to it possibly next spring.
Yeah. So you're asking for permission for the wall only at this point, not the seats?
No, I'm sorry. That was one way we could do it. Whether we can do the benches is going to be a function of the cost. We think it would be nice. It's a very long stretch of wall, so to have a different feature in there we think would look a little nicer, break up the flat wall that we have there. So we do hope to do the benches, but if it comes in at, say, $50,000, we would have to just go with the rebuild the way it currently is.
Excuse me, I think the addition of the benches would not be in keeping with this historical quality of the wall.
I understand, and that's to be expected that that's a possibility that I might hear tonight.
To not have the benches.
I expect that that's a possibility that's how you would decide.
It changes the whole concept of the existing wall.
Anybody else have any comments?
I went up and walked it this afternoon to look at it. And of course, being on Preservation Society, that's kind of our, Scott knows this.
Yes.
The Crescent Spring is kind of our thing that we've tried to keep up. At my board today, because we also had a preservation board, they didn't have a preference at my meeting, one way or the other.
My question is, what is the life expectancy of rebuilding it to what it is originally, as opposed to putting the benches in for more strength?
I would say a minimum of 50 years. I actually had that discussion with the engineer. He indicated that the benches would help, but by no means are they essential. It's an alternate that we thought might provide some functionality that we don't currently have.
Just for clarification, Carl, you're just asking about the wall itself or the benches?
Yeah, I'm looking, how much longer the benches would contribute to the life of the new wall.
He didn't give a particular time frame. He just indicated that, yes, those 90-degree angles would definitely strengthen the wall.
How so?
Pardon?
How so? I'm sorry, my voice is bad.
It's just a simple functionality of if you have something that's just straight like this, it's easier to maneuver. If you have a 90-degree angle,
Because I've seen stone walls that are in excess of 100 years old and they're still standing and they're still proper.
Sure. I think one of the biggest problems with this wall and the reason it's falling, I don't know if you've noticed it, but if the picture on page 1 where I have a level that's plumb, that's out by almost 7 inches in roughly a 4-foot wall. Taking that wall out and putting a foundation in, a steel reinforced foundation, and then rebuilding it, we're confident. Plus having the stonework and the drainage behind it, as we are going to do, that is a good fix. It is a good repair. The benches, again, those are I don't want to say they're an afterthought. They were discussions that we had out there that the engineer did indicate that it would provide additional stability to the walls.
What is the material of the benches?
Oh, it would be stone, just like on page 2, the lower right-hand corner.
I still don't understand how that would strengthen the wall.
Well, I guess I would answer that in 2 ways. First of all, an engineer stated that it would.
What kind of engineer?
He's a civil engineer.
A structural engineer?
I believe he's a civil engineer. Yeah, his got his name and number and whatnot there, but it doesn't state.
I'm not interested in his name. I'm interested in the type of engineer he is.
I would have to check with him on that, whether it's civil or structural. I believe it's civil.
Okay. So we established the wall needs to be repaired.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Absolutely, I agree with
And that's one wall that at some point someone had added a layer on top of it to
Yes.
hold the dirt back. That's been
Yes.
like that for quite a while.
Correct,
That's what
yes.
it looks like.
Is that in the similar location of the upper wall that fell down or collapsed above it or to the right?
No, just, it looks like they wanted to add more dirt, so they just added another
Yeah.
level of rock.
And that was done within the last 5 years, the person that did that.
And how will you prevent water from dripping behind the
I don't
wall?
even know who did it.
Yeah.
As the,
You have to grade the dirt behind it somehow.
yes,
Or
yes,
to
well,
install pipes that would allow the water to drip down from the wall and into a, say, culvert of some sort.
yes. The diagram on page 3 indicates that we would be putting a perforated drain pipe and backfilling it with clean stone. We'll also have the a soil separation fabric, wrapping that stone to keep soil particles and whatnot from filling that. And so that will help to rechannel the water away from there.
Right.
Great, thank you. So right now, we have a motion to do the wall and the seats. And you want the option to have the seats, just in case you can, but you may not do that, that's what you're saying.
That's correct, and I apologize that without a bid, that's the best I can do.
I just want to make that clear for the commissioner as we get ready to vote. Okay? Anybody
It's
else?
either or, is what we're,
He wants the option to put the seats in, but they may not if it's too expensive. That's what he's saying, okay? So all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
I'm in favor of rebuilding the wall, but not
The
adding
motion is
seats.
the wall and the seats. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No.
Can we do a roll call vote?
Okay. Maggie?
yes, aye.
Kyle?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Judy?
No, I'm not in favor.
Kyle?
Yes.
Dee?
Yes.
Marty?
No.
Am I allowed to make a comment, just one comment about it, or is it just no?
We're voting right now.
Okay, then, yes.
Yes. Peter, yes. That's 4 yeses, motion carries.
Thank you.
If you want to wait just a second, I'll get you the COA for that.
Thank you.
Kyle, you want to add on the certificate seats, the 2 seats right now? It's just the wall on it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up on the agenda, level 3, 5 Rogers Alley, install elevator at east side of house. Want to introduce yourself, sir, and where you live?
Hi, I'm Mel Shipley. I have the home at 5 Rogers Alley. Do you guys have a copy of these plans that I drew up? Did she give those to you?
They do.
Or should I give you
It's
a-
in their packet.
It's in our packets.
I'm sorry?
It's in their packet. They have it.
Okay. Yeah, because I apologize for my artwork. I'm a sculptor, really not much of a drawer, so you got to kind of read between the lines on that one. But if you take a look at the picture that shows the stonework or supposed stonework, you'll notice that there's 2 walls that adjoin those 2 other walls that are rock, and that is the house. Now, this house was built in 1897 on the front end. The later house that's attached to it was built 15 years ago. There's a hallway that attaches to both of these buildings. The enclave between those 2 buildings is where I want to put the elevator.
Okay.
Now, the
Hold on,
elevator
hold
is...
on. Excuse me, sir. Hold on just a second.
Yes.
We're going to go ahead and read, Kyle will read the description, and then we'll we'll pick up on that.
Okay.
Hold on.
The property at 5 Rogers Alley is an American four-square residence constructed circa 1892. A large rear addition was constructed between 2007 and 2008. The applicant is seeking a certificate of appropriateness to install an elevator in the existing exterior recess on the east side of the main house. The addition will be covered on the exterior with limestone block to match the existing foundation. The shed roofline will continue from the main roof to cover the addition. The addition measures approximately 58 inches in length and 63 inches in depth, with an approximate footprint of 25.2 square feet. It will be 25 feet tall from grade to the roof line.
Is that accurate, sir? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay.
In evaluating this request for alteration, staff makes the following findings of fact. The proposed elevator is in an existing hyphen or recessed area between the original section of the home and the 2007 addition. You can see that in attachment 4 of your packet. This area does not contain original historic materials. The design is compatible with existing foundation materials and is minimal in size. The proposed alterations align with standards and guidelines, and staff recommends approval of this agenda item.
I move that the Historic District Commission issue a certificate of appropriateness for the work at 5 Rogers Alley as proposed.
Second.
Dee made the motion, Peter seconded. Any other comments, questions? Yep. Good?
Good.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And
sir.
Mel, if you'll hold on just 1 second, I'll go ahead and get you the COA for that, okay?
Okay.
All right, next up, level 3, 37 Council, construct attached garage. Anybody here for that building?
Yes, we're on Zoom. We're Ken
Oh,
and Mary
okay.
Lou.
There you are.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
And your names, please?
Ken and Mary Lou, Cadziella.
Okay. All righty.
Okay, so the property at 37 Council is a plain traditional single-family residence constructed around 1900. The property was in major disrepair until renovation was undertaken in 2021 that restored the exterior. The applicant is seeking a certificate of appropriateness for the construction of a 3-car detached garage measuring approximately 34 feet in length and 25 feet in width. The garage will be partially built into the hillside on the northern side of the property. Siding and shingles will match the main house. 2 gabled dormers are included on the facade, which is facing Council Street. 3 garage doors with a 4-window series will be installed facing the street. A concrete driveway and garage aprons will be installed for access to the garage. On the south side, a small bracketed portico covers a single door. The back wall will be concrete block and built into the hillside. In evaluating the request for alterations at 37 Council, staff makes the following findings of fact. The location of the proposed garage is the most appropriate given the topographic constraints of this particular property. Siding and design features are complementary to the historic home. Staff recommends approval of this agenda item.
I move that the Historic District Commission issue a certificate of appropriateness for the work at 37 Council as proposed.
Second.
Dee made the motion, Kyle seconded. Any other comments, questions?
My comment, yes. A 3-car garage is not appropriate to the neighborhood, number 1. Number 2, a 3-car garage is not appropriate to the age of the house. There was no such thing as a 3-car garage when the house was built. I think the garage is okay, but not a 3-car garage. That's a modern conflict.
Anybody else have any comments, questions?
I have a question on the backside. How far up does the grade of the hill come on the building?
Probably about 5 feet, 5 to 10 feet.
And then
So,
I have a question. The size of the garage, it'll be basically the same size of the house?
Well, it'll be shorter than the house.
Okay,
The house is a 2-story.
right.
And the garage will probably, if you want to equate it to the house, it'd be like 1.5 story.
But lengthwise about the same?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, the length.
And are the excuse me, are the dormers purely decorative?
No, they're visually created for light.
We're going to have a loft in there.
Okay.
so this is going to be upstairs above the garage?
They're functional, not just
What was
decorative.
They're not,
Sorry?
Go ahead, Peter.
I was just going to say, is there going to be some stairs on the inside that are going up above the garage to a second floor above the garage?
Yes.
yes. My plans are submitted. I don't know who has them.
We don't have that.
I didn't include
don't.
the interior because it is arbitrary.
We don't
Yeah.
deal
The
with,
full plans Steve does have.
The dormers are not arbitrary.
The dormers are functional. They provide light. They're fully open to the loft on the inside.
okay.
The dormers are also not appropriate to the age of the house or the neighborhood.
Any other questions?
Well, the dormers are not essential. They could be removed if need be. But my plans were to do a 3-car, not a 2-car.
Okay. All in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
No,
No.
Can we do a roll call, please?
Yes. Let's start at this side. Peter?
1 second.
Can I?
Actually voting right now.
Okay.
So.
Well, I'm going to say no
Okay.
right now.
Marty?
no,
Dee?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yes.
Judy?
No.
And Maggie?
Yes.
So I could vote. And I vote yes. Motion carries as is.
Okay, Ken and Mary Lou, I will email you the certificate of appropriateness tomorrow. And if you have any questions, we can speak via phone, but they approved your project as proposed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Number 4, we took this off the consent agenda. 43 Prospect, add shutters to front windows, non-contributing.
And Luell is here with us via Zoom as well.
Oh, hello.
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 Hi there.
How you doing?
Hello.
Okay, so I know originally Kylie had approved this, it was on the consent agenda. You want to tell us your justification for approving it?
Yeah, so this is a non-contributing property. The shutters that she's proposing are appropriate for the window size and type. And this property actually did have shutters historically. They were there in the 80s to 90s and at some point were taken off during a previous rebuild of the house. The house has seen some fairly extensive renovations to the exterior. Windows have been swapped out. And that was my justification for putting this on consent agenda. It's non-contributing. It's a fairly minimal addition that ultimately doesn't change anything about the style of the house.
And, well, I guess one of the original pictures would have helped maybe for everybody, but Kylie's right. This has been before us many times for changes, additions, everything in the last probably 12 years, 15.
So there's a previous history of it.
Yes.
They would like to make the motion?
Just a moment, let me flip back one page. I move that the Historic District Commission issue a certificate of appropriateness for the work at 43 Prospect as proposed.
Second.
Dee made the motion, Marty seconded. Any other questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
All right, Luell, I will get with you tomorrow morning and send you a scan of the certificate of appropriateness.
Perfect. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Number 5, Level 1, 56 Hillside, change windows to doors, add Juliet balconies, add rear pergola, add gable entry porch, non-contributing. Anybody here for 56 Hillside?
Hi, I'm Robin Busby on the property, and I really appreciate you wanting to discuss this more, because I think there is a lot going on, and I think that it would be
Could you just introduce yourself, please?
Robin Busby.
Okay, just hold on a second and we'll talk about it, okay?
So this property at 56 Hillside is also non-contributing. It was actually constructed in 1992, and it is a sort of neo-Victorian style bed and breakfast. The proposed alterations, they are fairly extensive, but since this is a non-contributing property and the proposed alterations are consistent with this sort of elaborate neo-Victorian style, I feel that they're all appropriate changes.
Okay, ma'am,
Yes.
you want to,
Want me to make a motion?
hold on a second. Yeah, go ahead.
I move that the Historic District Commission issue a certificate of appropriateness for the work at, just a moment,
56 Hillside.
56 Hillside as proposed.
I'll second.
Dee made the motion, Kyle seconded. Okay, ma'am, now you want to,
No, and I just wanted to say, if you needed more information, I'd be happy to share it with you. And a lot of the changes that I'm doing for doors and different things are more safety related than anything. And so anyway, and I appreciate the Historic Commission and your thoughtfulness on keeping Eureka beautiful. And also, one of the porches, one of the renovations is because I have a beautiful 10-foot stone wall that there has been, some water protrusion. And so one of the reasons that I need to get some coverage, so that is the water will be diverted properly so that wall stays intact.
okay.
Because it would be a tragedy if that.
Is that the
But anyway.
wall in this picture?
And I have more photos if you'd like them.
But the wall you're talking about, is that this one in the back of the house?
If I can approach,
Courtyard.
but yeah, that's the wall.
In the
There's
courtyard?
one large, like about 10-foot wall in the back.
Okay.
But
No, I'm-
if you would like to see, because the front door,
No, I'm real familiar with this property.
okay, because it is going to change a little, it's going to change dimensionally a bit because I wanted to add stairs to the front door that are going, now that the owner is living on property, my front door was right in front of the owner's bedroom. So the front door, and would be placed, it's the same door because it's the Inn at Rose Hall, but it'd be placed in the front with stairs leading from the parking lot or from the road, as opposed to not having anything to do with the rest of the property where the owner's quarters is. Right now, where the stairs are right in front of my bedroom. And so I wanted to divert public away from that area as well, but it will make the property where it has a very flat facade now, where even just having that front door, but you're going to need stairs to get up there. And I was going to use the Angel at Rose Hall as my guide for the way they did their stairs. It's going to it's going to be a lot safer for not only the patrons, I believe, but everybody involved.
Okay, great.
And you can see what she was just discussing. That's attachment 1. So currently, the main front door is located on the left side of the tower.
Yeah, right in here.
So she is proposing to, and correct me if I'm mistaken, Robin.
And Kylie, if I could approach the commission or hand this to you, you can kind of see a rough sketch of what, I mean, this is a rough sketch of what that would look like, because really,
Just want to show it to everyone.
We already approved it.
it kind of scares me right now that the property doesn't have a lot of exits besides on the first floor, and you're almost subterranean 10 feet. And so that's why I want to give people like a balcony, an escape. The fire department had to get in there, there's not a lot of space. It's like, so above that, where that door is, there's a window right now that has rows, and that will be moved to the side of the property, so there'll be a door, so in case somebody had to get to that, they
Okay,
can get in there.
all right, thank you.
Also, I think it'll add elegance to the house.
Could you talk in the mic, please? The mic line?
Mike,
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's recorded, so we want to make sure get it on record.
So sorry.
No problem.
So a lot of the things, as far as you talked about functionality, are they just interior design aesthetics? In my case, they're kind of both.
Right.
And I have tons of pictures, and where the roof lines have come in, they had a very subpar material that's actually been discontinued.
Right.
And I've got some rot. And so I want to, when I fix that area, I want to make that as sturdy, durable as possible, but also think about the ultimate safety of the facility and the building and do that at one time.
Okay, thank you.
That would also be on the 3rd floor as well. Again, there's no access in case there was a fire.
Right.
So anyway,
Good.
any other questions I'd be happy to answer.
Any other questions, people? Oh,
So just so I can clarify, I don't know if the design has changed since we last talked. Has it?
When the door moved, so the door was going to stay there,
Yeah.
but then
So-
add a single, like Juliet, just a single door?
Yeah,
where we-
I'm still on the facade. I just want to make sure that you're all clear on the facade design. So her current design is to actually move the front doors to the bottom of the tower, not that gable on the end.
That tower is also within where they are now? It's just how it
Yeah,
goes up?
yeah.
so our packets show over here.
Yeah.
Now we're going to move it to the tower.
Yes. And I definitely agree with what Robin said, that currently it has a pretty flat facade. So this is going to provide more depth.
The other thing is, it's not in scale for a true Victorian, which drives me kind of nuts because I am a design background. So anyway, it's going to put the building itself, even though the building was amazingly well crafted and they did a great job, but anyway, but when I put the new facade in, it'll actually be in more of the parameters of properness.
okay.
But again, the house was started in 92, completed in 94, so it's kind of not within the historic area, but I want to keep and preserve all the charm because
It is in the middle of the historic area.
of this part.
This home was, my understanding when I moved here, because I know the first people that had it as a bed and breakfast, it was a spec home by somebody, and that's why your long period of start to finish. and it sat empty for a while, and they finally bought it, and then they built the Angel too.
Okay, well, I heard differently, because he was, from what I heard, is the builder.
It's okay, I know the people personally.
Yeah, like, so
All right.
that's new. I thought they built that one and then the other
We don't
one.
have to go into the history.
No, but that's
Anybody,
why,
Anybody else have any questions?
My question was on the illustration that was written that we were passed out. On the right, so the stairs are going to be underneath the tower, right in the middle, going up to the tower.
Right,
On
so
the, now on the right side, like if you're looking at the building on the right side, there's an illustration there that's showing like a patio.
Okay,
Is
so,
that not going to match the left side with those railings as well?
no, there's going to be no railings, there's no porch over there.
Okay.
It's basically just a little porch up to the staircase, but as far as that, is that part you're talking about?
Yes.
So what I was thinking is the neighbors next door, when that was built, they had the same posts as me, but they used brick with a stone cap, and I wanted to mimic their front door, because basically, then the two, because they are built so similarly, would really mimic each other. So I can get you a picture of the Angel at Rose Hall, the way they stacked their stones. So they didn't use they used the pillars that match the stone, the porch,
Okay.
the two pillars, and then brick with the stone cap. But just the spindle part is more stone and solid.
Okay.
It's really, that lot kind of undulates, so the left of it is going to stay exactly the way it is, and then the right is going to just have like a walking path to get around the house.
Okay, so it's okay.
Okay. Any other questions? We'll go ahead and vote on it then. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you
Appreciate
guys
it.
very much. I really appreciate everything you guys do and all the time you guys give to this town, because it's a lot.
It is. Robin, if you want to wait just 1 second, I will get you the certificate.
Okay, good, thank you.
So the consent agenda, level 1 and 2 projects of the city preservation officer believes to be in accordance with the design guidelines. Any commissioner or member of the public may move any consent agenda item to the regular agenda for discussion. There are none since we moved them already. Administrative approvals by city historic preservation officer. Minor impact projects include ordinary maintenance that does not involve a change in materials, new and replacement signs, alterations non-contributing and/or non-historic structure, excluding major additions or demolition, medium impact projects that meet design guidelines. And these are listed on the website, so we don't have to read them. There are 13 of these right now. Commission business, approval of minutes from May 18th.
I move to approve the minutes from May 18th, 2022.
I'll second.
Dee made the motion, Kyle seconded it. All in favor, say aye.
Now, there was some people absent. Okay,
Judy was absent. I was absent.
I say aye. I don't know, was Peter on there yet?
Were you here on May 18th?
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Okay.
Marty was here?
Marty was here.
Okay.
I was not here May the 8th.
So Kyle,
Oh, I think
Dee,
I was here.
before you can approve it.
You were here.
And Maggie, right?
Yeah, I was here in May.
Maggie was here.
I was,
Judy was here. Steve, Peter, Marty,
here.
Dee, and Kyle.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Approval of minutes from June 1st, 2022.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from June 1st, 2022. That's the one you were
I
gone.
wasn't here.
I'll second.
Dee made the motion, Kyle seconded it. Maggie and myself were not here. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Number 3, May Treasurers Report. Maggie.
As of the latest, $8,880.73.
Okay.
I move to approve the treasury report as presented.
Second.
Kyle made the motion, Dee seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Adoption of new Rica Springs Historic District guideline, or design guidelines.
So we have those, they're final. The Lakota group presented them to you all. So the next step would be for the commission to adopt those as the new guidelines that you make decisions by.
That's these here.
No, those are the policies and procedures that you've already approved. The design guidelines are the big
ones that were-
booklet.
Yeah.
Okay.
When will you have them printed?
I don't know. I'm hoping within the next month, but we do have the full digital version available.
I know, because I've been reading those. but-
It's just been hard to, do we
It's
have to
just- I know.
approve it tonight? Can we wait another till the next meeting? It's just a lot to read.
Yeah, we can. I won't have them by the next meeting, I don't think, printed.
Okay.
No,
But that
but
gives us time
give us more time to keep
read
reading.
and study.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
If that's not push, I mean, is that,
I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Can we
It's up
just
to you guys.
postpone it till the next?
I hear a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to postpone this to the next meeting so we have more time to read.
second?
I second that.
Judy made the motion, Marty seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Agenda setting for July 20th, 2022 meeting.
That's the one we want to change.
Can we put discussion of the July 20th meeting first before we do
Sure.
that? Okay.
Discussion of July 20th meeting.
Yes. Kylie won't be here. Well, she doesn't get back till Monday. Go ahead, Kylie.
Yeah, so I will be gone the majority of next week, which is when applications would be due. I am going to be responding to email as much as I can, but as far as compiling the staff report and getting that to you on Fridays like usual, I'm probably not going to be able to pull that off since I'm out of town. And I haven't received any major impact project requests at this point. So, and I know a couple other people have potential conflicts that week. It's up to you all if you want to go ahead and cancel the meeting or kind of just wait and see if applications come in. It's up to you.
I think it's better to vote on it now, and that way gives all the people, and since you're going to be out, I just make a motion to cancel the meeting if everybody's in agreement.
We trust you. If you get a flood of applications, you'll just let us know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make the motion that, as of presently, we cancel the next meeting on July 20th unless otherwise notified.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next meeting is not July 20th.
It'll be
Our next meeting would
August
be August
4th, I think, but I'm not positive.
4th.
Is it 4th? Okay.
Level 3 applications due that Thursday before.
August 3rd.
Third.
Sorry.
3rd.
Yes.
To the 4th.
Yeah, it's August 3rd.
Okay. The applications due that Thursday before. Level 2 applications due the Wednesday before. Okay? No public here, so I assume there's no public comment. Commissioner comments. We'll start with Peter. Any comments you have for tonight?
No comments.
Maggie?
No.
No.
I mean Marty? I'm sorry. It's an M name. It's an M name. Kyle?
No comment.
Dee?
No comment?
Judy?
No comment?
I hadn't called on you
Comment?
yet. Maggie? Okay. Thanks for everybody for being here. Appreciate volunteering. It seems like it's been a long time since I missed that last meeting, so.
Well, we
Seems
skipped
like
a
it's
meeting.
been 6 months. I know, I skipped a meeting too. So I feel like I'm learning all over again. Director comments, Kylie?
I don't think I have any. Thank you guys so much. I'm really excited to get the new guidelines going.
Yes.
Don't
Yes.
melt.
I
It's
was
too hot.
thrilled about Chapter 3. Just thrilled.
Yeah.
Okay. I hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Dee made a motion.
Second.
Peter seconded. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. We are adjourned.